What was my earliest memory? The soft touch of a silk blanket, feeling the warm orange sunlight through closed eyes, under thin fabric. Trying to revive these old memories feels much like recalling a long-lost dream. Eyes closed, and in the mind, chasing that ever-fading point, visible yet unreachable, deeper and deeper still. And in one moment, it seems to have become clearer. The parts that can't be remembered are filled by the imagination, the soft touch of the silk blanket, feeling the warm orange sunlight through closed eyes under the veil. I'm looking down at a white room, a group of people gathered in a circle. They wear blindfolds. I can see someone in the middle of the circle. It might be me. I'm humming a melody, a familiar melody. It stays in my mind for a long time, satisfying and beautiful. After humming the melody, I speak quietly. I was thinking of a story about... I'm full of emotion. I feel like crying. The person that I was thinking of was... I can see the face, but I cannot remember the name. I'm now seated in a theatre, looking at the stage. A spotlight illuminates a desk. A girl is molding a geometrical shape. I look down and see my hands. A pot is in my hands. I hold it close. I breathe in and I breathe out. I realize that the girl is me, and now I'm watching myself on stage in a mirror. I hated school. High school felt like a tragic place, as if we were birds trapped in a cage, crammed together in a bleak space at the end of the century. We were all preparing for the college entrance exam. Even after classes ended, we were forced to stay for self-study until late at night. We ate all 3 meals at school, plus snacks. There was always a distinct mix of smells lingering in the classroom. My mother would wake up early every day to prepare an enormous amount of food for me. Every morning, I would wake up, grab my heavy bag stuffed with books and lunch boxes, and head to school. In my second year, I always ate lunch with my 2 best friends, but often, for no reason at all, tears would just fall whilst I was eating. At first, my friends were concerned, but it happened so often that eventually it just became a familiar sight. During those 3 years, 4 students committed suicide. None of them were my close friends or classmates, but the atmosphere at school was always heavy, with a sense of dread. Life's absurdity was always on my mind, and Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus gave me the strength to live in rebellion against it. By the 3rd year, the 3 of us had been separated into different classes, but sometimes we would all fake being sick at the same time to escape evening study sessions. We would head straight to the beach. Not far from the school, we only had to take 1 bus. Shoes in our hand, with our socks tucked inside, we would run along the shore, feeling the sand cool and gritty under bare feet, the scent of the sea and the taste of salt on my lips. It was the smell of freedom. I hated school. High school felt like... I was too young to understand what was happening when the family gathered at my deceased great-grandmother's house. I remember the faces, solemn, drawn, pale, as the light filtered through the thin curtains. They spoke in whispers, their voices low and reverent. I'm sure I didn't see my great-grandmother that day, yet whenever I recall it, the image of her lying in a traditional white Korean dress always rises in my mind. We moved to the crematorium, and I watched as the casket slid into the flames. The moment the door closed, my aunt suddenly began to wail. Her cries pierced the stillness, raw and uncontained. A sound that tore through the air. I don't know why, but their cries tugged at something deep inside me. And I found myself crying too, unable to hold back the tears. A memory of death, fragmented and unclear, yet so vivid in its intensity. I was too young to understand what was happening when the family gathered. My mother was young when my grandmother passed away. My aunt and uncle took on the role of parents to my mother. She was too innocent to grasp why her mother was always lying in bed, too sick to rise. There was a senbei snack factory near their home, and the air was often filled with the warm aroma of crackers being baked, flour, eggs, and sugar coming together in a fragrance that lingered in the streets. One day, grandmother, craving a treat, took some money from beneath her pillow and asked my mother to buy a senbei snack from that factory. Mother eagerly did so, not knowing if this could be the last time her mother would taste anything. That very day, grandmother passed away, unaware of death's meaning. My mother played in the yard, confused by the hushed atmosphere around her. As she grew older, she couldn't shake the thought. Perhaps it was the senbei snack that had caused her mother's death. The guilt lingered, and for years, the mere mention of the word Oma, mother, would bring her to tears. Yet, when she had her first child, my sister, the tears stopped, as if something deep within her had finally healed. My mother was young when grandmother... Every spring, my mum and I often climbed the local mountain together. We spent the day gathering mugwort, our fingers brushing against the cool, tender leaves. The warmth of the sun filtered through the trees, and the scent of the earth rose up. I loved hearing stories from her childhood as we picked the leaves. Her memories painted scenes in my mind, watching old dramas unfold. Time slipped away so quickly, and before we knew it, hours had passed. We always ended up collecting an enormous amount of mugwort. As the sun began to dip, we would gather the mugwort and bring it to the village. We boiled the mugwort in a borrowed cauldron, steam rising into the air of the mountains. Once it was cooked, we rinsed it carefully, draining away the water, and then carried it to the village mill. There, the mugwort was mixed into the dough, pounded until it became soft and warm. After all the process and waiting, the first bite, the fragrance of the mugwort filled my senses and was pure bliss. Mum and I exchanged a quiet, knowing glance, a smile forming on both our faces. Every spring, my mum and I often... When I was young, my mother would take me to Tongdosa Temple on the outskirts of Busan every weekend. The entire mountain was home to 19 different temples, but we always visited Kungnakam, located near the summit. I heard that Kungnam, often understood as the Buddhist paradise in the afterlife, actually means a state of ultimate peace and joy, which is said to come when one attains enlightenment. After passing through dense pine trees, we'd arrive at Kungnakam. There was a lotus pond in full bloom and a stone-arched bridge that spanned over. One day, before the Pope Buddhist service began, I was playing with a young monk and gathering fallen walnuts under a large tree. It was the first time I learned that walnuts came in green husks, which protected the hard shell inside. And within that shell was the brain-like nut. My mother called out to me, saying that the service was about to begin. Today, a particularly famous monk was visiting to lead the Pope. During the service, the monk asked everyone gathered in the Dharma hall to reflect on one question. What is the one thing I must never let go of? That day, I meditated for the first time. Everyone sat cross-legged, eyes closed, and the room was filled with stillness. The temple incense spread throughout.
Time passed. How much? I wasn't sure. Many thoughts came and went. After the service, as we left the hall, my mother asked me if I had found an answer to the monk's question. I replied, "It's myself. If I never let go of myself, then, with my will, I won't let go of anything that I shouldn't let go of." When I was young, my mother would take me to the sound of a first heartbeat, the sensation of air on the skin with the first breath, the moment I cried for the first time after being born, the first time I saw my mother's face, the soft touch of the silk blanket, feeling the warm orange sunlight through closed eyes under the thin fabric.